Hello listeners, CJ here. My pleasure to present an interview with the WWA. We're listening to the stylings of I'm Styling on Your Bro. Settle back, relax, and enjoy.
She's a nice girl with a heart of gold, and her smile warms my heart when it's cold. She is a vegan, so she don't drink milk, but she's got lovely skin that's smooth as silk. Every time I get lost looking in her eyes, deep down in my stomach it feels like butterflies. Her hair flows and it's long and it's brown. Everything about her turns me upside down.
Hello listeners, welcome to a special Push to Plat episode today. A very special episode. If you've been around the PSN store, if you're a bit of a trophy whore, a bit of a sucker for the free game, you will have come across this. Look, you may have even raged a little bit on this game. I understand some of the trophies, they're a little bit bullshit here, but we're gonna take a bit of a dive today with the developer, with the musicians, with the group that is Whiteboyz Wit Attitude. Now, as you know, listeners, I'm a bit of a classical mofo, so I'm well out of my depth here today, but I'm looking forward to learning how all this works, both on the game dev side, a little bit about these musicians. But look, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm going to let them talk, but we are very, very lucky here to have Doc White, who I believe was an animal doctor on a farm, and Crushed Ice, who gets his name, which is just fantastic, from his time as a bartender. This is Michael and Adrian. Now, if you haven't found the game, put the controller down. You can have a look after. Listen to us first. But the premise of this group is that they formed in 2007. This is fantastic as well. After hearing the song "Crank That Soldier Boy" on the radio, as we know as console gamers, he was a major influence on gaming going on later on to make his own console. So I can't wait to get into that and hear about the Whiteboyz Wit Attitude console that we'll be releasing shortly, I'm sure, on the back of the big next gen announcements. But look, before we get there, enough from me. Let's hear from them. How are you guys today?
I'm doing great.
Doing pretty good. This is going to be fun. I can already tell.
Yes, look, it's not a serious thing. I can assure you, but something tells me you boys are used to that. Now, we've got to get it out of the way first off. Are you both gamers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's actually kind of how we met way back in the day. I think our opinions... Yeah, 2005. I think our opinions on games have changed since then, but we're still very big on games.
Yeah, I like that. So, look, we are predominantly a PlayStation podcast, but I'm predominantly an Xbox player. So I don't know how the fuck all this came about. But what I'd like to ask then is, what do you predominantly play? What is your preferred console?
I have to say I've been switching. Like last generation, I was mainly Xbox, but this generation, I can't say I played one more than the other. I've been swapping mainly between Xbox and PlayStation, but I also really love the Switch. So it's really hard for me to pick right now. It just depends. Like PlayStation has some really cool exclusive games, so sometimes I'm playing PlayStation all the time, but then when it comes to multiplayer, usually I'm playing on Xbox Live for stuff like Battlefield with Adrian. So I'm kind of all over the place right now.
And Adrian?
Yeah, I usually play mostly Xbox. I do have all systems though. For the last several months, I've been playing Persona 5 Royal on PlayStation. It's taken me so long, such a long game. And then I'm looking forward to The Last of Us as well. So yeah, recently I've been playing mostly PlayStation, but I'm usually always on Xbox.
Yeah. I feel your pain. I recently finished that Persona 5 Royale. That game never ends.
It never ends. I'm like at the last. I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, for anybody listening, but I'm like right at the last couple of hours, and it's just I just need to get through it. But it's been a great journey. Been loving it so far.
I hate to scare you, but the game ends and then it starts again. There's a whole nother section, so I'm not sure which ending you're at, but I hope it's the real one.
I'm at the true ending.
Oh,
I'm getting to the true. Yeah, the game already ended, and then I'm into the next section. But then they just released Persona 4 on PC, so I might have to give that a go.
That's
Never
right.
ends.
That's right. I know you can finally throw away the Vita, although neither of you mentioned that console, so maybe you already have.
No, it's all about the 3DS and and the Game Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you can see, listeners, obviously there's a huge amount of money in rap, and I mean we do have the predominant two white rappers here at the moment. And what I loved is you're voted the greatest rappers of all time by two people on social media, which is lovely. I think I'm voted by one. Ironically, it's from the same family, but I like it. So why don't we talk a little bit about your music, and then we'll come back into gaming and stuff if you like. So you met in 2005 in gaming. How did you meet musically though? Did that just evolve from there, or?
Well, when I first met Adrian, he was really big into rap, and I was really big into more like indie rock. And so we kind of bonded over that. Like he was always trying to get me into rap. He was always sending me like, "Oh, check out this Bone Thug song." That's his favorite rap group. He'd be sending me that, and I'd be trying to send him like Radiohead, and we would trade. So at first it felt like we didn't have anything in common musically, maybe, but we got each other into different genres. So that was really cool. And
Michael's also a musician even back then. How old were you? Like 13?
something like
And he
that.
would make like instrumental stuff all the time. And so that's how we got into music. But the whole thing with the Whiteboyz, me being a fan of like Bone Thugs and Outkast, like NWA, Dr. Dre, all the old like the 90s stuff. In the early 2000s when the Crank That Soulja Boy and all that BS started coming out, we were always talking to me and Michael would talk, and I'd be like, man, this is crap. I don't know what's going on with rap. And I think just jokingly one day I was like we can make a rap song that's like better than this. And I was completely joking. And then like a few days later, Michael creates this beat and sends it over to me with like some rap on it or something. And like that's basically how it all started. It's just one big joke that never ended.
Yeah.
Well, I like that because on your site you have 4 albums, but then I see you have a couple listed. So you're above 4 now, I think, aren't you? You're around.
This new one's the 5th one.
The 5th one, yes.
Yeah.
So you guys
Yeah.
have been at it. You've been at it quite a long time now. Most, no, I'm not judging here at all. Please, most musicians tend to grow over time, and they develop and refine their style. How do you feel you've refined your style since 2007?
Oh man, there's a big difference between the old songs. I mean, honestly, the first album that we did, like I didn't even care. Like I put in no effort. Like when I rapped, it was totally offbeat. It was just like random garbage. And Adrian was trying to take it seriously. Like your verses, you had some good verses, and you kept telling me like, dude, just take this seriously. Like, come on. So like gradually, I took it a little more. Like our thing is we try and keep the subject matter kind of dumb, but we try and take the rapping, like the technical aspect of it. We started to take that more seriously as we went along. And I'd say that we were talking about this before the game came out, but we kind of started as a parody of bad rappers. But then as things went on, I guess we kind of became more of a satire about all kinds of things going on. So I'd say the subject matter kind of evolved, but also stylistically, like I started to take it a little more seriously. Yeah. What do you think, Adrian? Was that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we started doing this just for us. We didn't really care about putting it out there too much. It was just a fun thing to do. And, as the albums went on, it, like Michael said, it got a little more serious, and we started talking about other subjects, whether it was a little political, about society and all these things. But with each album, we always tried, and we do this every time we start, before we even start working on a new album. We're like, well, let's try to do a few things differently. Like, what can we do differently? Maybe try some different styles of rap or some different types of beat that we've never tried before. So even though in general it's been mostly the same, we did improve technically, I think, but we always try to do something different that we hadn't done before on like the newer albums.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that. And do you write sort of equally, or how does the breakdown? How have you found that works?
Like you mean like the lyrics?
Yeah, lyrics. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we write our own verses. So like whatever I rap on, I wrote, and then whatever he rapped on, he wrote. Yeah, sometimes we'll collaborate a little bit.
There are plenty of songs though where some of our lyrics play off of each other. So in that sense, like we kind of wade off and like show each other our lyrics, and then go back and rewrite some stuff to kind of go along with it. And that was always fun.
Like a back and forth, like a conversation, kind of. Yeah.
We always try to have like to be pretty even in all of our songs. So like, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. We always try to make sure that both of us were spread out evenly throughout all the songs, so not one person was overshadowing the other. even on the choruses. And if like one song, I started the song like on the first verse, then maybe the next song Michael started first. That way we were always pretty even. We never try to outshadow anybody.
It's very unrap-like, isn't it? This sort of, like mutual. No one's pushing themselves forward. I love it. It's fantastic. But what I like, I was telling Michael before we started, is that I read a recent article on Push Square, which were very positive about this, this interactive movie and game and the way you're doing the album and stuff. But there was this underlying thing of like, is it sort of serious or is it not? They weren't too sure. And dealing with musicians across all spectrums, like I've done different sort of interviews, and some you think are clearly taking the piss, having a bit of a laugh, or taking the perp almost, and then you go in with that approach and they're like really serious and it's not a joke at all, and then but you guys seem very chilled and very at home in what you're doing. But I do notice there's plenty of references, like in your new single here, the big single, it's fantastic as well. I mean, you're wearing the NWA shirt, you're pushing your connections there. I mean, you slam Dre as well and Ice Cube, but why not? In there, so you do obviously feel a bit of homage though to these groups, don't you? Like,
absolutely. I mean, that's where our name comes from. NWA, Doc White. You mentioned earlier the story about the doctor, the vet on the farm, and me being a bartender, but we obviously got that from Dr. Dre and Ice Cube. Things like that. But what's funny is I know Michael from the very beginning, before we came to to release all this stuff, we were talking about this and we were thinking about like, well, we don't know how people are going to take it, whether it's going to be serious, if they're going to know it's serious, or they're going to think it's serious, or going to know it's a joke, whatever. From the very beginning, we were pretty much sure we were going to do it on purpose. Like, we wanted people not to know whether it was serious or not. That's the reaction we wanted.
Yeah, I like writing that line, because I like Weird Al and like more comedic stuff, but I feel like our style is more of like a blurred line of like, are these people serious or not? And to me, that's kind of where the amusement is. Because I also feel like in more of our recent songs, there's times where we write and I look back and it's like, well, some of that is kind of serious or like truthful, So like even in the writing, it's kind of blurred. Like sometimes we're saying stuff sarcastically, or like sometimes it's just random lyrics. But other times we're trying to make a point and we take it a little more seriously. So even from the creative perspective, I feel like it's kind of blurred now, which is kind of interesting, I think. But
I think that's one of the powers of art, isn't it? That you can say something when it's not obvious you're saying something. You have a lot of influence if you so choose to use it in the right manner as well. I mean, now I want to ask you, you've obviously harnessed social media pretty well, YouTube in particular, I think, to get your message out. Now you've chosen this time to move to PlayStation. Why did you do that? How did that come about?
Well, I back in 2015, I put out a game called Pillar for PlayStation 4. And immediately after that, like some people were talking about the music in the game, and it just kind of got my ideas sparked. I started thinking about, well, how can we incorporate music? Like basically, I recorded a concept album right after this, and I was trying to experiment with using the game as a way of enhancing the whole experience. Like I was really interested in the marriage of like gameplay and interactivity and music. And I made this little prototype where I was trying to experiment with doing cool things gameplay-wise with music. And in the end, I didn't keep the prototype, but I was convinced like something in that direction could be done. And then around the same time, Adrian and we performed like the first ever Whiteboyz Wit Attitude show. And the idea was we were going to perform a show and then quit the project. it was going to be the end of it. And but people, like 50 people showed up to the show and everyone really liked it. And they kept going on about it. So it kind of made me, I started looking at like all of the Whiteboyz material and then at that game idea I had. And I was like, well, maybe we can kind of like merge the Whiteboyz music with the interactive music video kind of idea that I had going. So it just went from there. And it was a side project for a long time. I actually put out another game in 2018, and kind of in my spare time there, I was working on the Whiteboyz game. But the Whiteboyz game I've been working on and off since 2016 as a side project.
That's cool. Now, look, we tend to take sidebars here for a moment, Adrian and Michael. So I'm going to do that because I've been blindsided here. You mentioned you're a game dev, but I didn't realize you're behind Pillar, and you're also behind The Path of Modus. That's the other game you're referring to, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. That's me.
See, we'll go a little bit further here. Our listenership is largely, as I've alluded to, trophy whores and people that love to collect trophies. Now, this Path of Modus is known a fantastic trophy game. I mean, it's a fantastic game as
Oh,
well,
thank you.
but a fantastic trophy game that had a platinum. So
It did. It did.
you
Yes.
can see where I'm leading here, but
Yeah.
we'll get there in a second. I wanna know the origins of this title track here, Wear The Purp. So if you haven't played the game, listeners, you load it up. You have the choice here of an interactive music video, and it's a rhythm game. And not only do we have the single here, but you've got the dance moves as well with the motion controller. So how did you come across Wear The Purp? What inspired this song?
This is actually really old. Um,
Yeah.
you want to start, Michael?
Sure. Yeah. So, Wear The Purp, we had an original version that we made on our very first album. It had a totally different beat, and there's a few lyrics that we took from the original that ended up in the new version. But basically, the new version was a complete remake. But in terms of the idea behind the song,
It's basically making obviously fun of all the new like dance trends that are in rap these days.
but back then it was Soldier Boy.
Yeah, back then.
Originally
Yeah.
it was. But like the dance thing never dies. Like if it's not Soldier Boy, then it was like the Whip Nay Nay, and it was like Baby
Oh,
Shark
yeah,
Shark or whatever. Like there's always some type of stupid dance.
Honestly,
like,
I
it
forgot all
started,
about I forgot all about those.
Yeah. But there was some sample, like we used to always talk on Yahoo Messenger, and they had these little, I think they called them audibles, and you would send them, and it was like some funny thing, like you see a guy, and they would animate and then play a song, or like a person would talk in the message, and one of them was an audible, and it was just, I don't even know where it came from, but it was just this guy saying, "Start wearing purple for me now," or something like that.
Yeah.
And one day Adrian was complaining about rap, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll just make a song, and we'll put this as the sample. Start wearing purple for me, and we'll pour purple on our shirts or something like that." Is that how you remember, Adrian? That's how I remember it.
That's how it started. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Michael somehow made this beat he's the one that made the original beat for Wear The Purp, and the sample fit perfectly on beat for like the chorus. And the original chorus was completely different too. Like the sample was going on in the background, going "Start
Yeah.
wearing purple for me now," and the beat was dun 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 dun.
Yeah,
dun,
it was more
dun,
funky,
dun.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That's how it started, and then obviously if we were with the idea of releasing this stuff like on PlayStation and stuff, we weren't able to use a sample obviously off of Yahoo or whatever, so we decided to kind of just rework the whole song to what it is now.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Now, is there a lot of programming that goes into making the motion, controls actually work for something like that with the dance track?
It was a little bit. I had never done motion. I never programmed motion controls before, so there was a little bit of experimenting with seeing how it worked. And I don't know. Like I'm actually not convinced that this was how the motion controls are supposed to be used. It's kind of hacky.
Yeah.
But I just didn't really care because it was just a joke or whatever. So I was like, yeah, sure, it's good enough. We'll put it up. So. Yeah.
I like that. Now, Adrian, are you able? I'm sure you've tried the game at some point. Are you able to get the high score yourself?
That's mostly Michael. I have played the game, and I don't know what's the high score, like 20. I forget for the
I
dance.
can't remember either. 20,000 something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like just a bit short of it, but at the same time, I'm like, how many times I've tested out and Michael, I'm sure has too. How many times I've tested out when Michael was over. Oh, you need to test out the controls for me. You need to test this out for me. All the times I've tested this out, I played the game when it's out, and I'm just like, I'm done. Like this is done. I'm fine, never touching this again.
I can imagine. Now, look, I don't want to shit over your work here, Michael, but I don't know if you realize this. Now, we mentioned earlier on in the episode this I'm styling on you, bro, who was instrumental today in reaching out to you guys, and I really appreciate. He's a rapper of sorts himself. He really loves it. And I know he's sending you some of his work. He's written a trophy guide on this game, but we were talking about this game when it first came out on PlayStation, and we found a very effective method for beating the top score, because to get the top score, you have to be perfect, basically. You can't miss anything. And we realized, Michael, that, you've got all these moves, you've programmed it fantastically, but really all you need to do is hold the controller in a vertical position and just aggressively upward wank. And that will actually...
Yeah.
I see you're used to this method yourself.
I never did that.
Oh, sure.
But I was aware that it could be exploited. Like, people keep messaging me. They're like, "You know, you can exploit this, right?" I'm like, yeah, I know. I just didn't care that much, because it was just a joke.
So I think it's a joke within the joke. I love it.
I mean, here's the thing about motion control. Like, you being an Xbox player, right? You remember the Kinect days, like all those things. It's very hard to get all those things working perfectly. Like, I exploited so many games using that motion, like the controllerless motion control stuff. It's just whatever. It's fun. It's funny. We laughed so hard. Somebody sent us that message. They were like, "Yeah, you can just like basically throw the controller across the room and still get a perfect score." But like, yeah.
Well, one thing that delayed the game a little bit. This is a little bit of a funny story relating to this. Is originally the tutorial video that I did in the beginning. I did the shake with one hand. I did it more like how we did in the music video, and Sony, they wouldn't let me do that because they're concerned that people were going to like fling the controller into the TV. So I had to go back like a year later after I'd recorded the original video. I had to make a new one where I had both hands on the controller, and we had to redo the icon too. But that's a little funny story about the shake. Yeah,
I recorded part of that, the original tutorial video, didn't I?
I don't.
When you were here?
No, I think I did that later. I think.
Oh, okay. I know I recorded. No, it was for the trailer that I recorded.
Yeah, for the trailer.
Yeah, and then it was funny because then you had to redo everything after PlayStation.
Yes,
mentioned all that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. We continually hear about the censorship coming from Sony, from a lot of these Japanese games, the little bit of nudity or whatever. It's too much for us these days. But now I didn't realize they were also censoring the danger of how you held the controller.
I think it makes sense because I think because on Wii, like you had the strap, right? And on PlayStation you don't. So it actually made sense to me. I just wasn't thinking at the time, So I wasn't too upset about it. It made sense what they were saying, but it was just kind of funny. So
yeah, no, that's perfect. And then now the other track you put into this interactive game and music or whatever, you had this Mount Vernon, Illinois, which is where you're from, I believe. That's where you drop your tracks. Is that right?
that's where I'm from. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So this is a cute little thing, yeah. So I mean, it's obviously it's quite different from the Wear The Purp one here. It's a 2D side scroller. If you haven't played it, you're controlling a car that jumps over animals. You shoot boxes, you shoot cars. You've got a matching game in there as well, which is wonderful. Why not?
Thank you.
And then a donut at the end. Again, the high score is bullshit. In fact, this one has caused many a gamer to rage, I believe. Because they want to get that trophy, Michael. That's what it's all about.
I understand.
Or whatever. Yeah, it's very, very tough. Now, you were sneaky here too because you had some backward shooting of boxes. You had a lot of stuff going on.
Yes. Yep.
What is something like this to program? Does this take an amount of time? Is this tough or is this just easy?
I think I made this level in about a week.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean,
taking some people longer to finish it.
But well, see, it's fun. It's interesting. I mean, people have struggled with the score because to me, I thought it was pretty achievable. On that, the Wear The Purp one, I actually thought was a little more difficult. Maybe, I don't know. It's interesting to see people like what's hard for some people. But
you don't realize how good the average gamer is at wanking, so you take that into account.
That's true. I did not think about that. You're right. But when I was doing the Mount Vernon level, I was thinking about like, okay, have them shoot backwards at the box. Like I was trying to make it like a really optimal, like there was a certain path to get that perfect score. So yeah, I did put a lot of thought into how you would get the high score. Like it wasn't just a totally random thing. I did put some thought into that stuff. So.
Now, can I ask you both the reception you've sort of had from this game, like and from pushing it forward? Do you think it's an effective method? Are you happy with the results? Would you do it again?
I've been really surprised with the reactions from people. Like people have been really. I honestly wasn't expecting this. I was expecting to release the game and kind of go back to working on my other like serious game, but like people have been really passionate about it. Like I've never really quite seen the upwelling of people like this before. So I mean it was worth it from that perspective. I'm not sure like how worth it is in terms of like album sales. I still haven't seen any numbers so I'm not sure. But people have really loved it and have gotten a big laugh out of it, so I think it was totally worth it. I don't know. What about you, Adrian?
Yeah, I think it's not what we were expecting. I think more people like got the joke than I was expecting. I mean, there was a few people at first that were like angry that something like this was taking up space on PlayStation. It's like, if that's what you're going to be angry about, okay. But I mean, for the most part, even on like Instagram and like YouTube, all our comments have been pretty positive. People are just having fun with it, so that's good.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, look, I wouldn't be worried. There is so much garbage on the PlayStation these days. Last of Us 2, that it really doesn't matter what comes out now. So can I ask? And I know you probably have to temper your answer here with NDAs and all this sort of business. But what's the process like as far as you can talk to in getting a game? Because there are some people that listen that dabble in game creation on a much smaller end. They or even studying gaming creation. What's the process like dealing with a major studio, like a major company like Sony, and getting your product on there?
It's pretty cool. They've been really supportive of my last 2 games, and I think that, like, I don't know, like I had to pitch this idea. Like a lot of people I've seen comments are like, "How did this get on here?" Like they're just totally blown away. But there was an approval process, right? Like I had to pitch the game, and they had to approve it and look at it. I sent them an early demo of the Mount Vernon level. And they actually were really impressed with the whole concept of like trying to use the game to promote an album. They thought that was really cool. In terms of the actual music, they didn't really quite comment on that. They probably thought it was totally stupid, but they were really impressed with like the album aspect of it. So yeah, it wasn't just I somehow gamed the system or what. Like right when the game originally came out, people were messaging me and they thought that I had hacked the PlayStation Network to get the game on. And they were totally serious too. I was like, no, this got approval. So I don't know. Maybe part of it is because they knew me from my previous games. They're like, well, I'm not sure about this music, but we'll just give this guy the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. Maybe that was part of it. I don't know, but they seem to like the idea.
There's been so many people asking like how we got the album on there too. And for the most part, we just joke around. We tell them, "Oh, well, Sony loved our music so much, they were begging us to get it on there."
Well, they did say they liked it, but they never commented in terms of like, "Oh, it's funny" or anything like that. Like, so I'm not sure if they thought we were serious or I don't know about that. But yeah,
but I think that's what's puzzled people the most is like the actual album being on the PlayStation Network. I'd be surprised too.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So you're telling me there's no Sony record contract in the works at the moment then? At this stage?
Well, actually, that was another part of like what started it because back when I did Pillar, I put out the soundtrack and the Sony like music division of the company, they saw it and they liked it because they tweeted about it on like the main Sony account. So that's what originally kind of sparked a lot of this thought. It's like, wow, okay, I'm making a game at the same time like the music that I'm making is getting a platform too. So that's what kind of sparked all of this initially was their reaction to the music for my game Pillar.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's perfect. Now, look, I have to ask, otherwise I'll be lynched by the listeners. How come there's no platinum in this game?
So there's certain requirements to have platinum in the game. I don't think I can tell you what exactly the requirements are, but we didn't meet them for this game. So.
Fair enough. Yeah, the game length is getting shorter and shorter, so I know that is no longer a requirement. Basically, if you turn the game on now, you can get a plat. So I'm sure there's something else mysterious there. But one day, listeners, you and I will find out. But that will not be today. But then the rest of the trophies, though, this is more of a personal question for me. You actually choose these, don't you? And you create them yourself. That's all within you guys. Yeah.
Yep, okay, that's right. Good. Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. Even the donut glaze getting glazed. I like that at the end. It's fantastic. It is. The whole thing is fantastic. Now we I referenced at the start here, but it's a serious question. We're coming into next gen. We've seen the Xbox, we've seen the PlayStation. Nintendo's having a rest. They've got enough money at the moment. Will you be looking into a cheap emulator console? That you could release branded for like $400 or $500 that costs you $2 yourself. Are you thinking about that as your next move?
Like the Soldier Boy console?
Well, allegedly the Soldier Boy console.
Maybe someday.
You'd have to bump your count up because I think he offered 800 games on his, so you'll have to do something.
Oh boy, man, got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we got a lot of catching up to do. Wow.
I was telling Michael he missed the PlayStation 5 reveal showcase. He should have put the Whiteboyz game on there. It surprised everybody.
People were asking for it though, dude. I saw people tweeting at Sony. They're like, "Where's the Whiteboyz Wit Attitude: The Pursuit of Money 2 at the PS5 reveal?" Like they were actually wanting it. I'm sure they're being
Yeah.
sarcastic, but
I think that's valid. I mean, they could have removed that Sackboy thing that went forever and dropped that
Oh
in. That would have
boy.
been fantastic. Yeah, exactly right.
oh, it would
Knack
be cool.
3. Knack 3.
Next
Yeah.
soundtrack for Knack 3. I like it. Oh, Shuhei would love it. Now, it is only available at the moment on PlayStation. Do you have plans to move it across to the Xbox? Or
Not Xbox because they don't have motion controls in the controller. And originally we were thinking about a Switch port, but I also opted no on that for two reasons. One, because I thought no one would care about this, which I was proven wrong. And two, that you can't sell albums on the Switch store. So that's it's probably just going to be a PlayStation thing for now. But maybe in the future, if we continue doing this and we release a new title or something, maybe we can look at other platforms. But I feel like the Pursuit of Money game was catered specifically for PlayStation 4 and how they do things on PSN. So
just another selfish question here. As an artist and a creative, both of you, do you fear that perhaps your greatest work ever will be this album? Do you think this is the pinnacle of what you've got to offer?
That's a tough question because we always say we're done. You know, like we finished this thing, and like we're done. We're not working with the Whiteboyz anymore. This is fun while it lasted. You know, and there's been other stuff we've worked on too. Like Michael and I have worked on other type of music. We've worked on like alternative indie rock albums, whatever. And you know, that's something I've mentioned to Michael before. I've always wanted to go back to work on that. So I don't know. I don't know if you can ever beat the Whiteboyz, but and who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll come out with another Whiteboyz album. Maybe it'll never end.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, I still don't like it's still growing. Like each day, more and more people still play it. So I'm curious to see how long this goes for. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I like that. Well, hopefully today from bringing your voices to the people in a different way, perhaps to what they're used to. They'll if they haven't checked it out, they will go and check it out. Now, this Whiteboyz, The Pursuit of Money, is available on the PlayStation, all regions. In fact, actually, just before we move to that, I've got to ask. I don't know if you're involved in this or how this works, or Sony, but you do have an NA version of this game and an EU version of this game with a separate trophy list. Is that all on Sony's side, or is that of your doing?
Yeah, I honestly don't know how that happened. Because on my end, I programmed one trophy list, so I'm not really quite sure. They're the same trophy list, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Like the same trophies. Yeah, I'm not. So I'm not really sure on how that ended up being separate.
Yeah. Oh, look,
I don't know.
the people love it. You know, the chance to win trophies 2 times from doing the same thing. It's fantastic. It's what most of our audience...
they can exploit that, can't they?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's good it ended up that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, there's also an Asian store and a Japanese store. If you could manage to push it out there in the future, you know, for free, I'm sure there'd be even more love.
Well, see, yeah. Well, see, like that's I try and keep to the English because we don't really localize a whole lot. And for those on those regions, it's like really like it's not in English. Like you have to have everything Japanese and all that. So, yeah, that's the main reason I've never launched over there. And it always seems like they're into different types of games over there too. And I'm just not really tapped in the Japanese culture. Like I have another developer friend who makes shoot 'em ups, and like all of his fans are in the Japanese. Like his games don't sell hardly anything in the North American and European regions, but they do really well in Japan. So it just seems like it's a totally different type of gamer over there. So I just kind of avoid releasing there. But maybe I should. I don't know.
Totally different game, but that is definitely one way of putting it. Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. So look, guys, I do want to thank you. I'm conscious of taking your time up tonight. I do really appreciate it. If our listeners are trying to find more of your music and and find you and reach out and say hi if you so wish, how's the best way for them to do that?
So we are on YouTube and we're on Instagram, and those are the main two social media platforms that we use. And we're also on Twitter and Facebook, and you can find all of those links on our official website. And you can get to our website by going to www.rap.com. And then everything you need is right there. There's links to the album, links to the game, and our social media.
And if you're looking for the game, as we said, it's on PlayStation, both on the EU and the NA. The game with the interactive movies and the singles is free, and then you can buy their album for, it's $10 Australian or $7 US. So it's a bargain. It's nothing, listeners. You can afford that. You're going to wait.
I'd say.
Yeah, that's right.
30 tracks, people. 30 tracks.
Look, to be honest, I actually just bought it before we started, an hour before, and then I can't figure out how to use it. But that's my problem because I got to get a USB drive or something. Who knows? Who knows what's going on there? But we'll figure that out. But I am looking forward to it because you have some fantastic titles in there too. So for $7, why not? You're getting free trophies, listeners. Get off your ass. You've had your wank. Give them some money. They deserve it. They really deserve it. It's a wonderful thing. So once again, guys, thank you so much for coming on today.
No, thank you for having us. It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Well, there you have it, listeners. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Michael and Adrian, who formed the WWA. We're talking there, of course, of their latest album, The Pursuit of Money, and the free interactive music video game available on the PSN Store in both EU and NA regions. You can also pick up their album on the PSN Store for $7 US or $10 Australian. It's worth checking out. You can find all their details in the show notes this week, as well as information about Push2Plat and our regular show and contact details. So I'm going to leave you today with the wonderful stylings of the man who made this interview possible. He sought the contact today and provided us with what turned into a wonderful and enjoyable conversation. Of course, I'm referring to I'm Styling on Ya Bro. His trophy guide in rap form can be found on all good trophy sites. So he's going to take us out today with The Receptionist.
Late to the doctors and I'm in a rush. One look at her and I had a crush. I love that accent when she speaks. It melts my heart and makes my knees go weak. She called my name and smiled at me. I asked her on a date to get a cup of coffee. She said on her lunch break, yes indeed. We held hands the whole way, she couldn't resist me. I hope that she knows that I think she's beautiful. I hope she knows that I think she's irreplaceable. I know down in my heart it will be just you and me till death do us apart and for all eternity.
Push2Plat podcast are conceived, written and edited by CJ Anderson in Adobe Audition. YouTube upload handled by repurpose.io. Music licensing by artist.io. Push2Plat would like to thank our Patreon producers Zador VP, Redbeard Rick, T-Bird, Olsero and Ready to eBeg. Without your support, this show would cease to exist. If you would like to say hi, jump into the Discord in the show notes or on Twitter at Push2Plat. If you're interested in supporting the show, then jump on Patreon, the Push2Plat Patreon, where you can find more information on how to support us and allow us to continue to bring wonderful guests and topics from around the world.
Yeah.